The 2022-23 Champions League group stage is now complete, as well as the Europa League and the Conference League groups. We're going to be looking at each group involving a Premier League side in the Champions League and offer some objective conclusions about each qualified team from each of those four groups. Now let's start from Group A, which is Liverpool's group. Now, obviously, after the group stage draw was made, there was expectations for Liverpool to top their group, but not many people foresaw the form of Napoli. Now, those that are in the know would know that Napoli have basically gone through this whole season undefeated up until this week, where they played against Liverpool at Anfield. And they've been one of the most informed teams in Europe so far this season. Them top of this group isn't that much of a surprise if you think about it. Let's be real here. Ultimately, Napoli's form has led them here, and as well as Liverpool's bad form. But you could say that their bad league form hasn't actually translated to the Champions League. They've been quite solid, only losing the opening game to Napoli. Obviously, it was quite a bad loss. 4-1 Trent disaster class, as well as a Joe Gomez disaster class. So overall, just a poor performance, but mainly from those two. But Liverpool managed to bounce back really well, impressing in wins over Ajax and Rangers, both times. In particular, the 1-7 against Rangers and the 3-0, actually, against Ajax in the second to last game of the group stages for them. So all in all, a decent campaign for Liverpool. Of course, they would love to be top. It means easier opponents normally, but sometimes you can't always have what we want, especially when you're in that kind of form. Next up, we've got Spurs. They were chilling in Group D with a group that many people thought after the draw was made was the easiest group out of all the English sides. They got Eintracht Frankfurt, Europa League champions, Sporting Lisbon and Olympique de Marseille. Now, Sporting Lisbon, or as they're actually known as Sporting, have a really good manager in Ruben Amorim, and have a really decent side with some really good players, aka Marcus Edwards, former Tottenham starlet, who did big damage in both games. This group turned out to be a lot more difficult for Tottenham than maybe people foresaw it to be. But if you look in the deepest, underneath the surface, and look at Conte's record in the Champions League, actually, this has actually been a very good campaign. For only the second time in his managerial career, Antonio Conte has managed to escape the group stages of the Champions League. Now, it wasn't for trying though. It was not easy, all right? Up until 5 minutes, 2 minutes, a minute before the game was done. After 90 minutes, Spurs were top of their group. In fact, at one stage they were third and chilling in Europa League places. So all in all, for them to turn the game around like they did in the final match against Marseille and make it through at the top of the table is actually a big achievement. Now, of course, dodgy performances against Sporting both times and a dodgy performance against Frankfurt in one of their games against them probably held them back. But the wins against Marseille proved most valuable, and the win against Frankfurt also proved valuable. So all in all, Tottenham only lost one game out of 6. Of course, it's a group that might seem easy on paper, but clearly didn't prove to be, especially as a team on Tottenham's level. They're probably the weakest team out of the English sides in the group. No offense, this is a Spurs fan saying this. This is the truth. Tottenham are probably the weaker team in this group. Obviously, if you look at the table, they're third, then you can just say they're the third best team. Surely Chelsea are the weakest team. But that's Chelsea or Liverpool are the weakest team. But that's not how it works, all right? You all know that. Squad-wise, Liverpool have a better squad, even though I can't lie, it's not looking like that right now. And Chelsea do. Again, not really looking like that right now. But Tottenham finished top. What more can you ask for? You can't be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? Can't be mad at that. Something that Liverpool couldn't do. Of course, Liverpool had a slightly more difficult group. Now we move on to Group E, Chelsea's group. Now, this campaign started off a bit rocky for Chelsea, losing at home, losing away to Dinamo Zagreb. A man like Orsic, Tottenham fans will know that name, struck again. And it didn't look great after Potter came in, after Tuchel got sacked after that Dinamo Zagreb game, and then led them to a draw against Salzburg at home. But then the AC Milan games came up. Maybe many people thought AC Milan would be Chelsea's biggest rivals before the group stage games began. But it did not prove to be that case. Chelsea pulled out 2 comfortable wins home and away to completely turn their fortunes in the group, and then they ended up cruising They literally won 4 games in a row. So beat Dinamo Zagreb and they beat Red Bull Salzburg. So Porto did really well to turn around their fortunes, and now they're in a very comfortable position. They finished in a very comfortable position, 3 points ahead of AC Milan, who would have thought would have put up a better fight. Honestly, Chelsea's most difficult games came against Salzburg and Zagreb. The most AC Milan games weren't that difficult, but you could say AC Milan had a bit of harsh luck, especially in the San Siro game where Tomori was controversially sent off. All in all, Chelsea fans should be very happy with that recovery and that bounce back. Now we move on to Manchester City's group, Group G. Now, you know how it is in Man City. They always get the easy groups. So it's no surprise they got another easy group. You know, they got Borussia Dortmund, Sevilla and Copenhagen, an easy group for them, which did turn a bit messy near the end. Do you know, I believe it was a draw against Dortmund. There might have been 2 draws. I wasn't following Man City too tough because I knew they'll get out of their group. I'll be real with you guys. But 4 wins, 2 draws, can't be mad at that. You know, a very comfortable group stage performance. I can't really say much else apart from that. Sevilla, as we know, were meant to be the biggest threats to them in that group, but they have not been in the best of form, and they sacked their coach recently, who might be becoming in charge of Wolves finally. But yeah, all in all, Man City cruised out of their group. Nothing else really to add, really. You know, Haaland continues to bang in the goals in the Champions League as well. So, you know, Man City, even though they are cursed, are one of the favourites to win the whole thing, aren't they? Let's be real here. It's going to be very interesting to see the draws and what might come up in terms of the games and the matchups for the round of 16. As we know, PSG got pipped to their pretty much guaranteed first position by Benfica, who have surprised a lot of people with this campaign and actually are, alongside Napoli, one of the best informed sides in Europe. Just because they play in the smaller, less publicised league, aka a league that many people might perceive to be of lower quality, doesn't mean top sides can't come out of there. And they've proven themselves. You know, Enzo Fernandez in midfield, Gonzalo Ramos up front, Otamendi is the defenders with Lucas Verissimo. You know what I mean? So they've done really well. You know, the 2 draws against PSG stand out. And then we look at Bayern Munich, who are always inevitable in these group stages, 6 out of 6 wins. Inter in second, though, tough opponent for many people. And of course, the crazy Group B, where I think the group finished upside down. It was meant to be Atletico, Bayern, Porto, then Brugge in my eyes, but it's obviously ended up being Porto, Brugge, Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid, who are not even in the Europa League. So Club Brugge, whoever's getting a club, we might celebrate, but you don't know in this game about football, man. A lot of shots could come through, but that's the Champions League. And I'll also drop a little shout out to Manchester United and Arsenal for getting out their groups in the Europa League. Arsenal topping their group. Man United only been able to finish second, which means they're going to play a playoff against potentially one of the Champions League teams that fell in the group stages. So they could get an Ajax, they could get a Barcelona, they could get a Juventus. You know, this could be very, very spicy indeed. You know what I'm saying? But we'll wait and see about that. Nonetheless, also, I'm not going to forget the Conference League. West Ham are chilling there too. Might as well cover them as well. They topped their group, won all of their games. Superb performance from David Moyes' men, and we might expect them to actually do some things in this tournament and go really far like they did in the Europa League last season. But I think I'm going to end it there. Hope you enjoyed Zeno's European coverage and roundup. Let's see what the draw produces. Let's see what matches they produce, and I'll probably make an episode talking about it. Another episode of Logic summarising the matchups. And this time I'll include all the teams. I'll be nice this time. Thank you all for listening nonetheless. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching/listening on YouTube. And I'll see you in the next episode of Mini Football Logic.